Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about tradition in Port Saint Lucie, also known as the 34987 zip code. This is a really in-demand area and I'm really excited to talk to you about it today. We're going to be going over the MLS stats from 2022, as well as some amenities of tradition, the notable neighborhoods, nearest schools, and some new construction neighborhoods in the area as well. My goal of this video is to give you some information on tradition because I know if you are looking to move to Port Saint Lucie is decent size. There are 6 zip codes and you may not know which area is right for you. So hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding of tradition if it's right for you. And if I don't answer a question that you may have about the area, please feel free to comment below or you can email me. That's probably the best way to get in contact with me. And I would be happy to talk more with you, give you an in-depth answer, or schedule a meeting to talk more about your move. Now, without further ado, we're going to get right into the video, starting off with the MLS stats of 2022. In 2022, there were 607 sales in tradition, which made up about 10% of the overall sales volume in Port Saint Lucie. Now, the average price in tradition was $488,000, which made it the highest priced zip code in all of Port Saint Lucie. And that's largely because a lot of people are really wanting to move to tradition. What they've done over the last 2 decades, they just recently celebrated their 20th anniversary of tradition. And me being here my entire life, you can just see the gradual change and everything that they keep adding to the area. It's crazy and I'm excited for it. I love taking trips to tradition. And you can just tell if you drive all the way down Village Parkway, it is going to continue growing. But yes, there is a premium, and that is why it is the most expensive area in Port Saint Lucie as of right now. And another part that we're going to gather from the MLS stats are the HOAs. Tradition is the heaviest HOA dense area in all of Port Saint Lucie, with 94% of the closed sales in tradition last year were in HOAs. A lot of these neighborhoods include things like internet, cable, and landscaping, which is another big plus. The other part of information we gathered from the MLS is the 55 and older communities made up about 35% of the overall sales in tradition. So if you're someone that is looking to retire to Port Saint Lucie and you want an HOA that is going to take care of things like your landscaping, tradition is going to be a really good spot for you. 70% of the homes that were sold in tradition all were in gated communities. So that is another good stat for you to know if you are looking for HOAs and you want the gated community and the landscaping involved, things like that, like really just all the amenities that these HOAs have. And the last thing we are going to touch on from the MLS stats is the new constructions. Now, these builds are just the ones that builders listed on the MLS and were sold through the MLS. There are probably much more that were direct to builder and that didn't even make it to the MLS that we just don't have that information. So based on the MLS stats, what I was able to gather is that 16% of the overall tradition sales were new construction homes. And that's actually the second most in any zip code in all of Port Saint Lucie in 2022. But I'm sure if we were to get the stats from the builders, all of the new construction that's going on in tradition, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the highest or very close. And if it's not the highest yet, it is definitely going to be the highest if you see all of the communities that they are building in tradition. Moving on to the next topic we're going to talk about, and that is the location of tradition. Now, tradition is just south of St. Lucie West, still west of 95, which is great for commuters. Now, another benefit that I like of tradition personally is you can tell the infrastructure of roads that they already have in place is definitely designed for a much larger population that they currently don't even have. You can go on Village Parkway from Crosstown all the way to Becker and see hardly any traffic at all. That's because tradition made it a point of emphasis to have the infrastructure to take on all of the developments and all of the people that are going to be moving into that area. The traffic is not as bad in tradition as it would be in other areas of Port Saint Lucie, and that's because they do have wider lanes. They do have more roads for you to get from A to B, and that's because they are prepared on what's coming in the next 10, 20 years in tradition. And it's awesome for us now because it's very convenient. Like I said, it's very convenient for us now being able to get through tradition without hitting that bad of traffic. Moving on into the notable neighborhoods of tradition, we're going to start off with the ones that are not 55 and older, and this would be neighborhoods like Heritage Oaks, Victoria Park, Promenade Square, Bedford Park, the Estates, the Lakes, Town Park, and Treasure Coast Air Park. Now, some of the new construction neighborhoods that are in tradition, also not 55 and older, are going to be Belterra, Emory, Mattamy at Southern Grove, Heron Preserve, and Central Park, which is actually a little bit north side of Tradition, and it's a brand new community that I'm going to have to do a whole separate video on because it is really interesting. There are a bunch of different builders and options for people in Central Park, and I think that'll be a really cool community that I will definitely have to do a separate video on. And now some of the 55 and older communities that are already established and in place include Vitalia and Lake Park. Now there are a bunch of new construction 55 and older communities in Tradition, and those largely include Del Webb, Tulare at Southern Grove, Esplanda, and Riverland, which is a super cool community. It's actually Tulare and Riverland have some similarities. And as I continue making more and more videos, I know doing specific spotlights on neighborhoods are very informative for you, and I know a lot of people really enjoy getting information and getting a better feel for the specific neighborhood that I do videos on. So if you have a neighborhood in mind that you want me to do a deeper dive into and give you more information on, please comment it below or let me know, and I would love to put that video together for you. So Tradition has come a long way in developing its land, and it is still nowhere near done. We've touched on some of the residential developments that are going on. Well, Tradition has been developing its commercial side as well for the last 20 years, and it is really starting to ramp up over the last few years due to the influx of people. And there is still so much more vacant land left in Tradition. Like I said, the main road in Tradition, if you just go down Village Parkway and you keep heading south, you will see all of the vacant land east and west of Village Parkway all the way down to Becker. And there are some large development projects going on along Village Parkway as well. One large development is the Legacy Park, and that's where Amazon, FedEx, and the Cheney brothers have all bought massive warehouses on this enormous industrial project along Village Parkway down south near Becker. And these companies moving into those areas see the potential growth in the future. There is such demand for this area that you will see over the next 10 years, the massive boom that is going to happen in the Tradition area, just based on how they have been slowly developing it as the demand has grown, so much so that they are also trying to move it more south, because as of right now, it's basically right off of 95, that Village Parkway exit is kind of like the hub where the square in the downtown Tradition area is at, and then they are starting to build more south on Village Parkway. They're currently starting the Heart in the Park project, which is going to extend a more downtown type feel more south on Village Parkway and Discovery Way. And this is awesome to kind of give those other developments that are more south on Village Parkway something that's more centralized to them, so they don't have to go all the way to the square every time they want to do anything or go to restaurants and things like that. They've started the Heart in the Park project, and that'll be done, I believe, in 2024. That's going to be massive for the area, and I'm excited to have even more new options in Tradition as well going forward. It is worth mentioning, while they are developing a lot of commercial spaces and residential spaces, they are developing a lot of apartment complexes in Tradition as well. I believe there have been 3 or 4 new ones, that 2 have already been finished and 2 more on the way alongside Village Parkway as well. And this is good for people that are either building in Tradition, they need a place to stay for the year while their place is being built, or people that just want to rent and live in Tradition. And over the years, with the massive increases in people moving to Port Saint Lucie, I feel like there's been a large disparity over the last few years of the people that need to rent, and for the amount of rental units that are actually available to people. All of the apartments have been a little bit on the older side. So the fact that we're able to get more options for people and in a Tradition-like area, I think it's awesome, and it's going to give people a lot more options who are looking to move to the Tradition area as well. But anyway, enough talking about what the future is going to look like for Tradition. It is now time to talk about what amenities are currently in Tradition. And first, we're going to be talking about Tradition Square. Now, this is basically the downtown of Tradition and probably Port Saint Lucie when you really think about it. And this is an area where there are a bunch of retail and restaurants, as well as a lot of events that are typically going to be at Tradition Square. Tradition uses Tradition Square to host their monthly events, festivals, and live music. Tradition actually has a really good website that is very good and up to date on what events are going on. But one event that is always in Tradition Square bi-weekly, the first and last Friday of every month, is going to be the Chow Down food trucks. And this is when a bunch of local vendors and food trucks come to the Tradition Square, and it's a really nice time to kind of walk around, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the food, and enjoy Tradition Square. They also do things like morning yogas and running groups, 5Ks, as well as the neighborhood market is every Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Be sure to check out the Tradition website for any events that you might be interested in the future. It's a really beautiful area to go to, even just to hang out and walk around. Tradition does a really great job at keeping this area looking as great as possible and giving us things to do in that area as well. The next amenity that we're going to talk about in Tradition is for the golf lovers out there that are in PGA Verano or PGA Village, and this is Pop Stroke. Now, Popstroke is a mini golf course, and they do also have an ice cream shop attached and a bar and grill. But aside from that, they also have golf simulators, which are so cool. They have multiple golf simulator bays that you can rent out and pay hourly to play. And they have couches and TVs in there, and you just go and you play on the simulator, you bring your own clubs. And the simulators are really, really high tech. Even the floors tilt based on the lie that you have on the course. And you can play on any golf course that you can think of. Popstroke is actually owned by Tiger Woods. He is the founder, or I'm sure he's the large investor, but it's mainly Tiger Woods' project. And he's only opened a few Popstrokes that I'm aware of, and one of them just so happens to be in Tradition. So Tiger also sees the potential of Port Saint Lucie. It's a really good time, it's fun. They also do mini golf events for winning like a Scotty Cameron putter, and you get a meal with your ticket, and I've done it a couple times. It's really fun. If you want to go try it out and think you're going to win a Scotty Cameron putter, by all means, but in all likelihood, it's happened to me both times. There will be a 12-year-old kid there that just cannot miss a putt, and he's going to walk away with the Scotty Cameron putter. But if you're up for the challenge, it's still a fun event, and you should definitely keep an eye out for when they're doing their next mini golf tournament. The next amenity we're covering is a very interesting and forward-thinking amenity that I like that Tradition even has, and it's called TIM, Tradition in Motion. This is an autonomous transportation for people in Tradition that you can follow on an app, and it has stops programmed all throughout Tradition, and it goes up to about 15 miles an hour. It can fit up to 15 people. Now, it is autonomous, but there is a worker that is in the cart just to make sure nothing is going wrong. So when I say you get to use an app to kind of track it, it'll tell you where it's at, so that if you are using it to get to the grocery store, that you can follow it on your app to see when it is going to be back or when the next one will be there, just to kind of help you without having to worry about the commute, or if you're having car problems. It's a nice thing to have. And this is something that I know Tradition is really trying to double down on. The plan is to get 4 more shuttles out in Tradition very soon. And if you want more information on the Tradition in Motion or TIM, then you can also go to Tradition's website, where they have much more information on it. I think it's a really cool amenity that could have a lot of potential in the next few years as it gets more and more popular. The next amenity we're going to be touching on, as always, is going to be retail, because I know that matters to people. You have to know where you can go, what's in your area, is there anything in your area, because nothing is worse than being stuck at home and not even having the opportunity to go spend money somewhere locally. Well, in Tradition, they have some really great plazas. The Target Plaza by Tradition Square is the most notable, and that's where you'll largely go until the other developments down Village Parkway are finished. So right now it is the Target Plaza. That's where you're going to go for everything. And they have things like TJ Maxx, HomeSense, Pop Shelf, and DSW. So like I said, going near that Tradition Square area, it's full of retail, it's full of restaurants, and that's largely where you're going to spend most of your time, as the other commercial spaces start developing near the Wawa off of Village Parkway, and even more down south past Innovation Way and Discovery Way. So in the future, there's going to be even more retail, but at this time, it's near Tradition Square. And if you go under 95 over to Gatlin, there's also a lot of retail that way as well. And I do think it's worth mentioning that also in Tradition is the Cleveland Clinic Hospital. Hopefully you would never have to experience going to the Cleveland Clinic, but if you do, or having a hospital near to you is a priority on your list, then this is a big plus for Tradition, because like I said, the Cleveland Clinic is right there, right off of 95, right in Tradition. Now the last of amenities is pretty much the first of amenities to me, but I left it last in this video for some reason, and we're going to be talking about the restaurants in Tradition. These are all the local spots that I personally go to and that people rave about in the area. So here are all the notable local restaurants in Tradition. For your coffee and breakfast, there's Coffee Grind, Zeus's Coffee, and Bagel Brothers of New York. And then for some of the more go-to restaurants in the area, this would be Meeting Street, Pastel, Luso Portuguese Grill, and Taco Dive, which has the best steak tacos you will ever have. You should definitely try the steak tacos if you're in the area. I do sometimes mix it up and get the hot dog taco. It is not as crazy as it sounds. It is amazing, and anything that I've ever had at Taco Dive has been amazing, so definitely check that restaurant out if you are in the area. And then lastly, of course, you have to talk about dessert, and you can go to Cool Beans, and they are opening another ice cream shop, Hershey's Ice Cream, which should be done, it has to be done this year. Every time I drive by it, I always look in the door to see if it's open, and they have the sign up and they have all the boxes in there. Kind of just needs to be finished up, but I would assume that would be done this year as well. And the next thing we're going to talk about are some of the notable schools that are in Tradition. For pre-K, there is Chesterbrook Academy, and the 2 K-8s in Tradition are Renaissance Charter and Palm Point Educational Research School. That was a mouthful to say. And for high schools in Tradition, they have Tradition Preparatory High School. And for college, it's not IRSC, surprisingly. It's actually Kaiser University that's going to be located in the Tradition area. But all right. I know I have thrown a lot of information at you. Tradition's a really exciting and developing area that I'm personally passionate about. So I hope I was able to give you enough value in this video and give you enough things that you did care about. And if you know that you are looking to move into Port Saint Lucie or the Tradition area, please feel free to contact me. All of my contact information is in the description below. The easiest way is probably shooting me an email talking about your move and talking about how I can help you going forward and get that process started. And if you are not ready to contact me and start the process, please do subscribe to this channel because I am constantly putting out information on Port Saint Lucie. And whenever you are ready, you will be more informed on Port Saint Lucie and on the real estate market and more ready to buy your house. So please subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any other videos on Port Saint Lucie. And I hope I was able to bring you some good value today. Have a great rest of your day.